reactionaries are paper tigers. In appearance, the reactionaries are terrifying, but in reality, they are not so powerful. From a long term point of view, it is not the reactionaries, but the people who are really powerful. Just as there is not a single thing in the world without a dual nature, this is the law of the unity of opposites. So imperialism and all reactionaries have a dual nature. They are real tigers and paper tigers at the same time. In past history, before they won state power, and for some time afterwards, the slave-owning class, the feudal landlord class, and the bourgeoisie were vigorous, revolutionary, and progressive. They were real tigers. But with the lapse of time, because of their opposites, the slave class, the peasant class, and the proletariat grew in strength step by step, struggled against them more and more fiercely. These ruling classes changed step by step into the reverse, changed into reactionaries, changed into the backward people, changed into paper tigers. And eventually they were overthrown, or will be overthrown by the people. The reactionary, backward, decaying classes retained this dual nature even in their last life and death struggles against the people. On the one hand, they were real tigers. They devoured people by the millions and tens of millions. The cause of the people's struggle went through a period of difficulties and hardships, and along the path there are many twists and turns. To destroy the rule of imperialism, feudalism, and bureaucrat capitalism in China took the Chinese people more than 100 years. And cost them tens of millions of lives before the victory in 1949. Look, were these not living tigers, iron tigers, real tigers? But in the end, they changed into paper tigers, dead tigers, bean curd tigers. These are historical facts. Have the people not seen or heard about these facts? There have indeed been thousands and tens of thousands of them. And tens of thousands. Oh, thousands and tens of thousands. Hence imperialism and all reactionaries looked at in the essence from a long-term point of view, from a strategic point of view, must be seen for what they are, paper tigers. On this we should build our strategic thinking. On the other hand, they are also living tigers, iron tigers, real tigers, which can devour people. On this, we should build our tactical thinking. I have said that all the reputedly powerful reactionaries are merely paper tigers. The reason is that they are divorced from the people. Look, was Hitler a paper tiger? Was Hitler not overthrown? I also said that the Tsar of Russia, the Emperor of China, and Japanese imperialism were all paper tigers. As we know, they were all overthrown. U.S. imperialism has not yet been overthrown, and it has the atom bomb. I believe it will also be overthrown. It, too, is a paper tiger. Lifting a rock only to drop it on one's own feet is a Chinese folk saying to describe the behavior of certain fools. The reactionaries in all countries are fools of this kind. In the final analysis, their persecution of the revolutionary people only serves to accelerate the people's revolutions on a broader and more intense scale. Did the persecution of the revolutionary people by the Tsar of Russia and by the Chiang Kai-shek perform this function in great Russian and Chinese revolutionaries? U.S. imperialism invaded China's territory of Taiwan and has occupied it for the past 9 years. A short while ago, it sent its armed forces to invade and occupy Lebanon. The United States has set up hundreds of military bases in many countries all over the world. China's territory of Taiwan, Lebanon, and all military bases of the United States on foreign soil are so many nooses around the neck of U.S. imperialism. The nooses have been fashioned by the Americans themselves and by nobody else, and it is they themselves who have put these nooses around their own necks, handing the ends of the ropes to the Chinese people, the peoples of the Arab countries, and all the peoples of the world who love peace and oppose aggression. The longer the U.S. aggressors remain in those places, the tighter the nooses around their necks will become. Imperialism will not last long because it always does evil things. It persists in grooming and supporting reactionaries in all countries who are against the people. It has forcibly seized many colonies and semi-colonies and many military bases, and it threatens the peace with atomic war. Thus, forced by imperialism to do so, more than 90% of the people of the world are rising or will rise up and struggle against it. Yet, imperialism is still alive, still running amok in Asia, Africa, and America. In the West, imperialism is still oppressing the people at home. This situation must change. It is the task of the people of the whole world to put an end to the aggression and oppression perpetrated by imperialism, and chiefly by U.S. imperialism. Riding roughshod everywhere, the U.S. imperialism has made itself the enemy of the people of the world, and has increasingly isolated itself. Those who refuse to be enslaved will never be cowed by the atom bombs and hydrogen bombs and the bans of the U.S. imperialists. The raging tide of the people of the world against the U.S. aggressors is irresistible. Their struggle against U.S. imperialism and its lackeys will assuredly win greater victories. If the U.S. monopoly capitalist groups persist in pushing their policies of aggression and war, the day is bound to come when they will be hanged by the people of the whole world. The same fate awaits for accomplices of the United States. Over a long period, we have developed this concept for the struggle against the enemy. Strategically, we should despise all our enemies, but tactically, we should take them all seriously. This also means that we must despise the enemy with respect to the whole, but that we must take him seriously with respect to each and every concrete question. If we do not despise the enemy with respect to the whole, we shall be committing the error of opportunism. Marx and Engels were only two individuals, and yet in those early days they already declared that capitalism would be overthrown throughout the world. But in dealing with concrete problems and particular enemies, we shall be committing the error of adventurism unless we take them seriously. In war, battles can only be fought one by one, and the enemy forces can only be destroyed one by one. Oh my God. Factories can only be built one by one. The peasants can only plow the land plot by plot. The same is even true of eating a meal. Strategically, we take the eating of a meal lightly. We know we can finish it. But actually, we eat it mouthful by mouthful. It is impossible to swallow an entire banquet in one gulp, unless it's a course banquet. This is known as piecemeal solution. In military parlance, it is called wiping out the enemy forces one by one. It is my opinion that the international situation has now reached a new turning point. There are two winds in the world today, the east wind and the west wind. There is a Chinese saying, quote, either the east wind prevails over the west wind, or the west wind prevails over the east wind, unquote. I believe it is the characteristic of the situation today that the east wind is prevailing over the west wind. That is to say, the forces of socialism have become more overwhelmingly superior to the forces of imperialism. People of the world, unite and defeat the U.S. aggressors and all their running dogs. People of the world, be courageous, dare to fight, defy the difficulties and advance wave upon wave. Then the whole world will belong to the people. Monsters of all kind will be destroyed. The Communist Party of China, having made clear-headed appraisal of the international and domestic situation on the basis of the science of Marxism-Leninism, recognized that all attacks by the reactionaries at home and abroad had to be defeated and could be defeated. When dark clouds appeared in the sky, we pointed out that they were only temporary, that the darkness would soon pass and the sun break through. Historically, all reactionary forces on the verge of extinction invariably conduct a last desperate struggle against the revolutionary forces, and some revolutionaries are apt to be deluded for a time by this phenomenon of outward strength, but inner weakness failing to grasp the essential fact that the enemy is nearing extinction while they themselves are approaching victory. If they hate the Kuomintang fight, we will wipe them out completely. This is the way things are. If they attack and we wipe them out, they will have that satisfaction. Wipe out some satisfaction. Wipe out more satisfaction. Wipe out the whole lot, complete satisfaction. China's problems are complicated, and our brains must also be a little complicated. If they start fighting, we must fight back. Fight to win peace. If anyone attacks us, and if the conditions are favorable for battle, we will certainly act in self-defense to wipe him out. Resolutely, thoroughly, wholly, and completely. We do not strike rashly, but when we do strike, we must win. We must never be cowed by the bluster of reactionaries. As far as our own desire is concerned, we don't want to fight even for a single day. But if circumstances force us to fight, we can fight to the finish. We are for peace. But so long as U.S. imperialism refuses to give up